right. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast That 2.0. My name is Brian. I am your host, and we are celebrating episode 41. Woo, woo. And happy Friday, everybody. Whether you're listening on Substack, a podcaster's newsletter, or on your favorite podcast player, we welcome you to the show. If you're unfamiliar with the show, Monday through Thursday only airs to paid subscribers of a podcaster's newsletter over on Substack. So if you like what you're hearing now and you'd like to hear it 5 days a week, head on over to a podcaster's newsletter on Substack and jump in. Well worth the investment. It's only going to make your show better. Hey, before we get started, be sure to hit us up on Instagram and Twitter. Those links are in the show notes below. We'd love to engage with you on social media platforms there. And today we're going to dive into a typical workflow for a podcast. Now, when we say typical, this is baseline. And then I'm going to go back and insert some coolness for you to help market your show and increase your visibility across the internet. So a typical show, we do some planning. What are we going to talk about today? We might list out some bullet points. Maybe we're interviewing somebody, so we've got to invite a guest. But basic is planning. What is going to be talked about today? Number 2, if you create show art for each individual episode, once you've got the talking points down and everything recorded, we encourage you to build out the art. Don't build out the art with a guest, especially if it's not recorded, because that guest might ghost you. That guest might have to reschedule. It might not get aired out. And we're just going to conserve a little time, save a little time there on not building out art until we have the audio. Recording the episode and or going live. This show is live to tape, and then we schedule it out to air when we choose it to. Live is a little easier. There is no editing. It is what it is. If I misspeak, stutter, can't think of a word, you get me in my natural state. If you're editing, this is the time to go back and edit the show. Now, if you're recording it, I encourage you to have a little pen and paper with you and just write down timestamps of known problems or known edit points. If you do this, you then have to edit in reverse, getting out those known points, dealing with those problems, and then from front to back, editing how you see fit. I encourage you not to edit out every single or ah or pause. Edit to the point where it's conversational. In natural conversation, we do say There might be a long pause. We might stop and contemplate an answer before we speak. That's all fine and well. It's natural. Don't feel you have to fill silence with filler words, because it's just going to increase the amount of time you have to go back and edit. Once it's edited, I encourage you to go ahead and create your published file. Make sure you're embedding that EXIF data when you publish. Publishing is different than saving. Okay, you can save to an MP3 or you can publish to an MP3. Once it's published to an MP3, go back and listen to the intros, the outros. You don't have to listen to the entire show, but the intro, the outro, and then just sample a few sections through without. What you're listening for are my levels consistent? Does the intro sound good? Is my music too loud? Is the guest voice too loud? And then you just tweak things back in editing before you release, and or make mental notes for future episodes if you're live. Okay. So that takes us through the editing portion of this. If you're editing video, we encourage you to edit the video, and then you can export that audio in a WAV format, uncompressed, and then tweak that further if need be. Uploading to your hosting platform. This is where a lot of podcasters make the mistake of saving episode as instead of publishing. If you save as, you need to right click on that file, go to its properties, and fill out the title, the episode number, the description, all that cool information you normally get when you publish a file. We encourage you to publish accordingly in whatever DAW or software editing software that you use. It just adds that level of professionalism. I can't tell you how many times I've downloaded an episode to listen to later when I knew I wasn't going to have internet, and the file is downloaded as episode 1. instead of naming that file episode 1, podcast planning, with maybe a show name. That gives me information as the downloader to what I've just downloaded, and allows me to recall it to play later. So publish your files accordingly. Most podcast hosting platforms have a little auto post. You can link your Facebook, Twitter, etc., to your podcast hosting account, and when an episode release, it auto tweets something out there for you. Yes, it's handy. However, most social media platforms degrade in their algorithms third-party posted content. So if you want to schedule out on Twitter, we use TweetDeck. It's a Twitter product. It's free. We can schedule posts. All fine and good. LinkedIn, to my knowledge right now, doesn't allow you to schedule posts, but it will allow you to schedule an event. So if you're doing video, you can schedule that event and upload that video for release later. Facebook, they're probably the worst at degrading your content in their algorithms if you auto post. So don't. Take the time. If you have a Facebook account, you should have a Facebook page for your show. Number one, you can add your RSS to it, and every time you dump a new episode, it'll automatically add it to your Facebook podcast tab, which is cool. If you're adding video there, you can schedule that stuff out in the Meta Business Manager for Facebook and Instagram. You can schedule both Facebook and Instagram posts within the Meta Business Suite. That was a tongue twister. That was a mouthful. So utilize the tools accordingly. Do not auto post anything. I encourage you not to. Yes, it's easy. However, it's not going to get you much result. So now we're going to go back to repurposing. That's the typical workflow. Plan, create, record, edit, create your show art, upload to the platform, schedule it out, push out your social media post. Okay. Now we're going to go back and repurpose some of this content. If you're doing video, you can import that video into, say, Premiere and repurpose it, changing the aspect ratio for stories, TikTok, etc. You've already done the hard part of creating the content. Why not repurpose it as much as possible for social posts? In addition, you can take small 30-second snippets, 60-second snippets of your content and utilize those for social media posts, linking back, or that call to action, taking them back to the full episode on that platform and or on the podcast player of your choice. So much you can do with the content you've already taken the time to create. Figure out that workflow, what works best for you, implement it, and then start utilizing that secondary content you've created from your primary piece of content to boost, to share with the world little snippets of your show, driving them to the show in its entirety. Wow, I feel like it's Friday. Is it Friday? It's not Friday. Today's Monday, isn't it? Joey, is today Monday? Today's Friday. This says Friday. Thank you all for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Be sure to like, follow, and share this content with those in your circle you might think benefit from it. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to hit us up at sitchradio.com. That's SITCH radio.com, and schedule a free consultation if you'd like to talk about bringing your podcast onto the internet and or to the next level. We look forward to talking to you.